Hiya, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sean Hills, and welcome to A Soul's Experience, a channel dedicated to helping the human race remember who we really are. Returning onto the show today, we have special guest, spiritual student and psychologist, and most importantly, my brother and my brother in this spirituality on this journey of unconditional love, James Hills. How we doing?
Thank you for having me on again. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, we've tried getting you back over, but both family men with children, and
Life is extremely busy,
life can
and
get
I'm
busy.
sure a lot of people out there will relate. It's hard finding time to fit anything in.
It can,
It's hard.
and 2025 has been nuts. It's been nuts. Do you
Yeah,
know what I mean? You can't go anywhere without something that has been going on. So just trying to find five
yeah,
minutes for that peace and quiet has been insane. But
yeah. I tell you what, I've noticed so far. Uh, so many people I talk to, everyone just seems to be in this real negative mindset. Like they're stressed, they're overwhelmed, they're always moaning about something, and it just seems life just seems to be very, very stressful for a lot of people at the moment.
yeah, well, that's something I actually wanted to touch on, because I was doing some research the other day and I came across this amazing video. Heard some stuff in it which I've not heard before, and it's always amazing when you feel something, especially if it resonates with you. And a lot of us are wondering what the heck we're doing with ourselves at the minute. The old ways of living don't seem to be working because they don't seem to exist anymore. The old values we grew up with, the old morals we grew up with, just the society and the people around us, just the way that things are structured is so completely different from how it was in the 90s, in the 80s, even in the early 2000s. I would say from 2010 onwards, things have just been rapidly evolving, changing with technology, with the way that things are done, with the economy. I mean, you name it, things were just changing. I mean, there's been things flying around in our skies. There's been, whole parts of America on fire. There's been snowstorms in Florida. The world we live in today is chaotic, and we are part of Gaia. We are part of the energy of this planet. So it's no wonder people are feeling it. They're really feeling the energy of the planet. It's chaotic. It's madness at the minute. And for those who were kind of happy, this is part of the awakening. This is what's exciting about it. For those who are happy to get up, go sit on the same checkout they've been sat on for the past 10, 15, 20 years. Go to the same luxury resort in Benidorm. Go drive the same car. Go to the same cafe and have the same cup of tea and speak to Mary. The people that were happy to live in this matrix, this robotic way of living where you just pay your taxes, you work for 60 years, and then you die. That way of living, it ain't sitting with people no more because people are waking up. And the ones that were happy to just do that,
Yeah,
they don't understand what's happening. They're not into the ones that are completely closed off from spirituality. They're feeling it. They're spiritual beings. This is the one thing, James. This is the magic about spirituality. If you really, really, really believe you're a spiritual being, then you're a spiritual being. But guess what? If you really
yeah,
don't believe you're a spiritual being, you're still a spiritual being. So
yeah,
so they're going through this early stage, the dark night of the soul, this early stage of something's wrong. And that trigger, that trauma, that angst, what people are living in, that don't understand what's going on with the awakening, that's going to be the catalyst. The
yeah,
event, what happens this year is to wake them people up. People like me and you already know there's something so much grander and greater that's going on. We've already been asking the questions for years and doing videos like this. We're kind of more ready for them shifts, them changes. We know that the full moons affect us. We know that the solar eclipses and the planets aligning. We know that stuff to be true. We know we're energy bodies. So we can kind of roll with the punches a little bit more. Maybe give ourselves a little break when we need to, and then give it 100% when we need to, and go in the cycle of nature a little bit, go with the flow a little bit more. Whereas the people that are used to
yeah,
living in the robotic way of just get up, do this, get up, do this, get up, do this, the world is not catering for that no more. There's a great awakening happening. The energies are rising, and the people that are trapped, you know what it is? It's them demonic energies on the planet, the negative forces that want to keep you in them spaces. They're trying their damnedest and their hardest to keep people in the lower vibrations to feed off that negative energy, but it ain't working. There's too many people awakened now. There's too many that the tide has turned. Wouldn't you agree? And that's what we're seeing. You know,
Yeah.
before
So
a creation, there's a destruction. You know.
yeah, you've raised some good points about how things just aren't working anymore. So if I can expand, back when, let's say, we were hunter gatherers for our food, we would, kill and then eat that food, and we would get a hit of dopamine, which is, the feel good. It keeps our brain going. And then very quickly, we would go back into that hunter mode where we would go and find more food. So there would be a lot of hard work and little reward. And that's how, as a species, we were designed. And we were designed like that so we can survive. As we have evolved so rapidly, there is no balance anymore. That we can get a dopamine fix when we want, regardless of the time, regardless of the situation, and it is overwhelming, and it is, society knows this. Big companies they know about dopamine. They know how to hook people. In reality, we are all addicts.
Yeah.
We are all addicts, and I think what's happening is life has become so busy, and we've just become robots to trying to be happy and searching for it in all of the wrong ways. And I think the consequence of this is we are becoming more conscious that we are just a species of habit. And I think it's only until you become aware of this, you realize that quite right, things aren't working for us anymore. And it's a lovely feeling to aware of all this. It's also quite scary because you realize living is just not fit for purpose.
Yeah.
And I think that's contributing towards why people are waking up. The further we advance with intelligence, the further we advance with consciousness. It's a balance. You can't have just one or the other. It has to balance out. So I think people waking up is especially in this day where there is, like you said, so much going on.
Yeah.
So like you said, with all the stuff in the USA, that talk about that a little bit, but the unidentified objects, what was all that about?
Well, yeah. That's a great topic because there's so many bluffs and double bluffs that you could go down with that topic. You could have the fact. I 100% believe that we're. I think it's silly to believe that we're the only species in the universe or in multiple universes. That I think that's a little bit silly, because if this is as far as evolution has got, it's to the human being, it's to the bloke down the pub with his pint, chanting at football songs. If that's as far as the evolution of humans have got for the masses, it hasn't got too far. Not that there's anything wrong with having a pint and watching the footy if you're into that. Like, I'm not judging. But I just assume, just by looking around and using our common senses, by what we can visually see and know within ourselves and know and experience within ourselves, just by what we look around and see and hear, we know we're not alone. And the problem is the powers that be that want to contain that information due to many reasons, mass panic, just a complete breakdown of society and the way things are done. The biggest thing is these advanced technologies have free energy. And if you look at the way that planet Earth is run, the whole stock market and everything is run by oil. If the price of oil goes up, everything on the planet goes up. Everything. That's why oil is so important. The whole economy of the planet is run on fuels, because that's how that's how it's done. That's how it's done. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So you take that away. First of all, you're going to have a lot of angry rich people that all of a sudden their multi-billion-dollar company is now worthless because no one needs them. So you've got a lot of rich people that don't want free energy for the masses. Why would they want for us to not pay our gas and our electric because it's all free, and not have to put petrol in our cars because it's all
Yeah.
free? And that technology's out there. And we've known that since
Yeah.
1940s. Since the 40s, we've known that as a species. And so, I mean, so what the powers that be, what they do is they deliberately put out a load of kooky stories that are close to reality, but not quite. Do you know what I mean? So they get a load of whistleblowers and they go all over the place and they go, oh yeah, well, this is going on, and they're cutting up cows and mutilating them, and they're taking people and sticking probes up them, and they're doing all this crazy stuff, and people are thinking, oh yeah, all right. So when they see something or they hear of something, they automatically assume load of BS. That's just a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
Because the word
Well,
conspiracy
that's what
theory,
that's what I noticed. It went on the unidentified object issue went on for so many months, and they still don't have answers. And I think Trump went on TV and said, yeah, no, it was just they were carrying out research, nothing to worry about. And I think what this highlighted to me is, let's say something significant was happening,
yeah,
as the normal population, we are so limited in terms of control in our own life.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it was in our face. It
At the
was in their
moment,
face. It was
yeah.
above their heads, and they just have to accept. And I think it was a real show in power that, let's say there was like missiles or something attached to them,
Yeah.
or some like deadly gas. There wasn't, but we would just be looking up like there's nothing we can do. And I think that's the of life. Like, we are governed by, powerful people, and if they really wanted, they could do stuff, and we would have no choice.
Well,
You
this
know,
is it. This is it. The state of how we are at the minute, we are completely reliant on infrastructure. So our water comes out of a
yeah,
tap
yeah,
that we have no control out of. Our food comes off the back of a lorry into a shop that we don't own, that we have no control of. Our food is grown in places we have no idea. It might say it on the packet, but do we really, do we read that? We just assume that we go
mm,
into the shop and we assume they're going to have fruit from all around the world. They're going to have meat on the shelves. And you assume when you put your tap on, water's going to come out. But we've just
yeah,
grown up. The people that own that structure own us. They own us.
yeah,
If we don't own our own food supply and our own water supply, and even the shelter we live in, to live in a shelter, you have to
yeah,
pay. You have to pay to live in, so that you don't die from the elements. You got to pay to not die on the street. So we're completely entrapped. And the way it's done is it's done very slowly. We're going to help the population. We're going to give you sanitation and running water, and we're going to farm, and we're going to own all this farmland, and we're going to feed you, and we're going to give you cheap housing. But now we own everything you need to survive is now in the hands of the people that own that stuff. So the people that have gone off grid and are growing their own food completely with no preservatives, if they choose to, obviously they can put insect killer down on it if they so choose, if they want to eat that stuff. But the people that have their own fresh water, the well, and their own food, and have built their own shelter on their own bit of land, they might look like they're living in a hut and working in the mud every day, but they're the richest people on planet Earth. They are the richest people on
yeah,
planet Earth, because if everything was to crumble tomorrow, if a massive CME, a coronal mass injection, was to shoot up from the surface of the sun, create a solar flare panel enough to burn out all of the electrics on planet Earth, you're going to see planes falling out the sky. You're going to see all the electric cars just stopping and crashing everywhere, all over the planet. You're going to see every pump in every plant stops, the water stops coming out the taps. You're going to see if electric goes, a complete shutdown of society. And then all of that, all of them gadgets and all of them funky things you've got in your mansion and all the billions you've got on a code on a screen that you can't access anymore because there's no electric is all worthless. All the gold you've got that you can't eat, all the paper you've saved, the money you've saved in your safe is good for wiping your butt. You're going to have a big supply of toilet roll because you can't drink it, you can't eat it. And that's the reality of that's the people don't think about this stuff, and it's a little bit prepperish to think about it that way. But it kind of, when I was first introduced to, making sure you had a little supply of emergency food and water put back, I thought that is such a. Why doesn't everyone do that? Why doesn't everyone have at least a few weeks of pasta and rice and canned food and water put back? So that if anything was, if the beep was to hit the fan, if the crap was to hit the fan, you're good for a month or so, and you're probably going to want a lot longer than a month's worth supply. You're probably going to want a year's worth, but I don't know, man. I just feel like we're completely, the systems are introduced so slowly that we think it's good for us, and then we find ourselves entrapped within a system that we have no control over, like what you said. Which is why it's so important for this awakening to take place.
It goes to show, like, as a species, although we have free will, do we? Or are we just conditioned to society the way that it's said for us to be? And although our thoughts are free will, what I want, and no one chooses it, I still have to abide by the system to a degree, and it's I think people are waking up to that, and it can be a scary place, really. But yeah, I like you said, it's why people don't think of that. I don't know. I think we like comfort, don't we, as a species, and I think people are just quite happy to go to work, come home, watch TV, and then do the same and retire. It's just become the norm.
Sorry, there was an old
sense of shift happening.
Yeah, no, there's an old saying. I think it was the Roman times or the Greek times when they said, "Give them bread and circuses, and they'll never revolt." Do you know what I mean? So basically, give them entertainment and give them a bit of food, and you got them.
Yeah. And it comes down to what I was saying earlier. Is I tell you, can I talk about something that really hit my spiritual journey?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been on this journey, as you know, for years, and I realised the more I observe myself, and I think everyone should, all your viewers, when you start to observe yourself, you realise even the way you think has become a habit. And when you start to self, I think that's when you can kind of make change and have power over your own life, because I think sometimes it feels like we have no power in terms of the way we live, what we choose to do. But I think just simply observing oneself, you can make massive changes to your life. And I think people are starting to naturally do that. They're starting to ask questions about why do we work 9 to 5, and why do we live like this? And I think as we get more intelligent as a species, I think, like I said, the scales, the consequence of that is that we're starting to observe ourselves more. What was that? And it's everywhere. It's everywhere in religion, old texts. It's the universe wants to know itself, doesn't it?
Well, that's it, and that's what I'm finding so amazing about this time is when when I had that vision back in 2007. I had no idea what I'd seen. I just had this, you know, I just went along with it. I just went along with it, and it wasn't until 2020 that the vision was confirmed. And then I remembered about this year, 2025. So from starting my journey 4 years ago, properly, when I had my spiritual awakening, um, I kind of was just leading up to this year, just with a bit of apprehension, but knowing 100% this year changes everything, and afterwards is a golden line. We're going into a golden age, and I had no idea about. I just knew what I had seen, and then over the past 6 months, I've seen astrologers, mediums, channels, spiritualists have all just blown up and said something's happening this year. Something's happening this year. All the planets have suddenly aligned. We're going into the age of Aquarius. There's this massive shift. I had no idea about any of this. I didn't even really believe in God back in 2007. You know, I was running around being a 20-year-old going clubbing. You know what I mean? I was just running around being a menace. You know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So when I started hearing people that have been studying astrology and stuff, and they've been studying spirituality for 30, 40 years, and they're talking about this year, and then the beginning of this year, all the craziness that's been happening, which isn't even the half of what's going to happen, by the way. We haven't even seen it yet. Just putting it out there.
yeah,
But yeah, but like everything was just confirming what I'd seen and confirming what I'd seen, which just confirmed everything that's been happening the past 4 years, like the visions I'd seen, and like coming out my body and seeing the golden cross and the flash of divinity, of source, of home, where we come from through meditation. All of that stuff that just seemed so airy fairy and unbelievable has all been coming true and leading. I know in my heart of heart, my souls of souls, there's this giant, great shift that's happening. And the reason it's happening now is because the old ways, because you said something that really caught my attention a few minutes ago. You said our thoughts are free. Now, yeah, the one thing that the external cannot touch is our internal. So how we perceive the
yeah,
world, what we think about the world, what we think about ourselves, that's our choice. So the powers that be, what they've done is they manipulate through advertisement, through music, through television, through, the big, if we look at Hollywood and we look at the big, what goes on over in them kinds of places, and we look at these big power structures, the big pharma, big entertainment, big music, all the big war machine, the big weaponry companies, all the people that really own the world, not the little governments underneath them that do what they say, but the people that really own the planet. They don't want us knowing our own power and having our own thoughts. They don't want that. Because when you have that, you end up in positions like we're in, questioning every single piece of BS they try and shove down our throat, and finding out the truth for ourselves. And that's why it can
yeah,
feel so isolating, because for a long, 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 long time, you had one person here waking up. You had one person here waking up. You might have had a culture like India or in places in China where Buddhism is really, really big. You might have had it, but in the Western world, if you ever spoke about stuff like this, back in the day, you would have been burnt at the stake for being a witch or drowned. You'd have been called a wizard. Oh, you believe that you left your body, did you? Oh, you have visions, do you? Burn him, burn him. He's the reason we all caught crabs. You know what I mean? Like, they blamed everything on people that had spiritual gifts, because it was like, no, 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 that's scary, because it was drummed into them that there's one God and they hold the power. And how dare you say that you have the power of the Lord or Jesus Christ inside you? How dare you? That is, you will be killed for that. Back in the day, you would have been killed. And Jesus was
yeah,
killed for saying he was God. He was killed. And so it's so nice to live. We're in a stage now where not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, millions of us, and they don't want to tell you that millions of us are waking up. And whatever happens this year is the spark in the fire that bangs the rest of them. It gives them a kick up the arse. It does. It gives them a kick up the bum, because there's
Yeah, and I was going to say a bit of advice I'd give to everyone is things are going to get chaotic. They already are. You know, mental health. You know, it's increasing. 1 in 4 people every year will suffer from mental health. 1 in 4. That is a crazy
one in
statistic.
four.
Men, suicide rates are going up in men. In 2023, it was like over 7,000 men committed suicide. So my advice to people is become the observer of your life. And what I mean by this, if we just take a breath now and we look around, the natural state of the universe is peace. If you look around you now, it is peaceful. And I think people need to start observing their life a bit better, observing how their unconscious is reacting to everything around us. And they need to change. They need to wake up. And more importantly, that they need to unify. They need to, you know, they need to start talking about it. And they need, and I think as a collective, change can happen, but it's very hard to do it as an individual, especially when we got so much against us, you know.
Well,
But yeah, I think it's so important that word observe. I use it a lot, but I think people need to start looking around them and thinking, well, what is going on here? Yeah, you know.
do you know what?
Um,
I completely understand. I completely get where you're coming from, and the way humans have been conditioned to just be go, go, go. You get up, you go. You get up, you go.
yeah,
Humans have been so conditioned to do that, that to just sit and observe, for some people, not for everybody, but for some people, is almost impossible to sit with themselves for a short period of time and really not observe just the positive things in your life, but your shadow work as well, the things you need to work on, and be
yeah,
honest with yourself.
yeah,
You have to be honest with
yeah,
yourselves and say, I don't like this part of me, and that isn't who I truly am. It's out of alignment with who I am. Your mistakes are not you. They are actions that have happened, but they are not you. You know, and we can bring ourselves back into alignment with unconditional love. And when we do that, that ripples out and affects the whole universe. And it sounds so hippie-ish, but I mean, science in quantum physics is proving all the time that our energy fields are intertwined. And so science has proven that our energies affect the energies of people around us. I mean, that's just becoming common knowledge now. But it's really
yeah.
interesting.
Well, listen to this, okay? You've heard about the split experiment. So
Yeah, yeah,
electron was observed and measured. It fell into line, but
yeah.
when it wasn't observed, it creates a wave of all possibilities. Now, the reason I spiritual sense, and again, this is still argued with science. This is a new realm, yeah. So it's exciting stuff. But we have 50 trillion cells in our body, and in we have 100 trillion electrons. So I don't know what 50 trillion times 100 trillion is, but that's how many electrons are in our body.
Wow.
Now, when an electron is it collapses the wave function on the quantum realm into a possibility. Now, just your very thought that you have in your head collapses function on the quantum level. And I think that's so important because your thoughts is shaping reality around you.
Yeah,
And you're collapsing electrons with your thoughts. Again, this hasn't been proved, it hasn't been disproved. It, but you need to observe them thoughts, what are going on, because that is shaping your reality. And that's the sad thing, is I think people need to realize how much control they have over their own life. And I'm not talking material, like, oh yeah, but I don't have a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
I'm talking about that inner happiness. It's and it's not about getting rid of your thoughts.
No.
It's observing them. Okay, an example is every time I woke up, I had this same repetitive thought of like, oh, I need to grab a coffee and do this. So when I started to observe them thoughts, I was like, wow, that is that's interesting.
Mm.
How can I change that? And to observe, it's right in front of you. It's you just have to take that breath, look around. The natural state is peace.
And
You know, um, yeah, it's just interesting. And the quantum, I think the understanding of the quantum level is that's something that's going to be a game changer this year as well. I think people are going to wake
Yeah.
up to how we can collapse our own states and realities, and yeah, it's interesting stuff.
Yeah, I was going to ask, where do you think that comes from? That knowing, not just settling for what we've been told. Like, because I'm always torn with spirituality, there always seems to be a contradiction somewhere. So they say, or people say, and I also believe, believe to be true, that we plan our lives before we come here down to the very smallest detail. So everything's destiny, it's already pre-planned, but yet we have free will. So them two things seem to contradict each other. If you don't understand what free will really means and what destiny really means, there's, I believe we have free will within destiny, if that makes sense. We have a path that's laid out, yet we can choose certain aspects of that path to go down or to not go down, or to explore or not explore. And also what you were saying, about choosing how to observe your life, that wanting to observe it from a positive place, wanting things to be better, wanting things around you to just feel, it doesn't even have to, it's not even about being better, is it? It's about being completely content with what is around you, whether we want to label it good or bad. And maybe not putting so many human labels on things as good and bad. There seems to be a drive inside humans for things to want to move in a positive direction, evolve in a positive way. And it may not seem like that for all humans. In fact, I know that there's souls out there that have completely lost their way. They've pushed themselves so far from source that yes, one day they will always be saved and go back home. That is the point of evolution. But for the majority of people, no matter what you get shown on mainstream media or on the TV or what you hear or see in the newspaper, the majority of people are good, loving people that want to always kind of evolve in a positive direction. And when you see that in people, which is so obvious when you look around, when you look at your friends, your family, your neighbours, most people aren't serial killers. Most people aren't running around punching people and robbing people. It's pretty safe to walk down the street anywhere you live. You know what I mean? So most 99%, 95% of people are good, decent, honest, loving people. And the argument that there isn't an unconditional kind of intelligence that runs that is love, which is God, or the divine or source, whatever you want to call it, it kind of becomes obvious that there's this kind of driving force that we have no control of, that we search for love, that we want to be loved, that when we find love, we actually don't care about our circumstances too much. We're kind of always on a search. And then when we find love, it kind of feels like a lot of that search is over, that we get to live now, because we have found that golden chalice that everyone wants, is to be loved. And I just find it really interesting that when you start to observe, like what you were saying, when you start to be the observer rather than the participant and just the reactor, I'm just going to react to everything around me, you actually notice that the universe is a peaceful, beautiful, loving place to be. And we're so grateful to be here. And if we could take ourselves away from the fear mongering on the TV, which has been designed, or the complete distractions, the nudity that seems to be on every social media platform. I can't seem to check a message without seeing a booty shaking in my butt in a bikini. Do you know what I mean? Like, and so all these the porn and the violence that we're surrounded by, which are all distractions designed to keep us distracted from the
Yeah.
beauty. When you become the observer, you really, really start to see the structure of how this world specifically has
Yeah.
been tailored at the minute by an entity that doesn't want us in a state of unconditional love. And how it seems easy when you see it, but for those who can't quite see it or don't yet quite kind of buy into what we're saying, believe what we're saying, which is absolutely fine. They will on their soul journey when the divine time is right. But for those people that are just on the edge, like there's something about this that seems to make sense from a psychological point of view. What do they say about love and the effects on the body, and can it really be explained in a? Can love really be explained in a scientific way, or is love this is the most obvious force that there is this magic in the universe, and we cannot explain what that truly is?
Well, it comes from when we are first born into this planet, we build a self concept. So who we think we are, and it's shaped by our interaction with the caregiver.
Yeah,
Um, we'll either feel valued or we'll feel unworthy. Um, and it is essential. It is essential because when we build our self concept, it's really important that we learn to love ourselves. And if we don't, it comes out in behaviors and affects you cognitively, and so love is essential, really.
yeah,
Um, and through your childhood, depending on what you've experienced, it will affect you as an adult. I think what we're seeing is a real mixed bag of how people have been brought up as adults. However, that isn't the answer to everything, and it doesn't shape completely who you are. And I think as we naturally get to an age as an adult, we have more of an ability to observe ourselves and reflect and make change, but it takes time.
yeah,
And I think there's a couple of important things that people can do. Is number one is the realization of your biological system and how it works. So what I mean by that is that we are naturally trying to get dopamine. It's built in us.
yeah,
We do naturally fall into unconscious habits. It's a part of us. It's it's our system trying to survive. I think, and number two is learning, and this can be done through meditation. Is learning to separate from yourself. And it takes practice. Is I can do it quite well now. Is it almost feels like I go into a state out my body and I look down at myself. It's really, really cool. And I just
right,
observe myself and I'm like, okay, you're picking up that vape again. Oh, that's a habit. Or you're having that negative thought again. Okay, let's explore that. Um, and yeah, I think, um, and number three is the realization that we all share something in common, and is that we all share this universal space, which is naturally love. It's
yeah,
naturally peaceful, you know, um, and it's accepting that. I think if we can just accept to be um, and be okay within ourselves, I think life gets a lot easier.
yeah,
Um, and all these needs and wants and like better jobs and need to do this, need to look a certain way. that's all stuff that you've built in your biological system. That's not the universe. The universe has one state, and it's peace.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
learning to live in that peace. It's learning to sit with hatred, and learning to sit with love, learning to sit with anger, and it's learning to sit with it and just observe it, not react to it. That's a different thing. If we react to our emotions all the time, then okay, you'll see chaos. You don't have to choose that. You just go to the shared universal space. We're sharing it now. Look around again. It's peaceful. It's
It is
that,
nice
you
and
know,
peaceful over it. It's nice and peaceful. It
it's peaceful. The
is.
only thing that is different between me and you is the thoughts.
That's
And
right.
if we hang on to all of them thoughts and react to all of them thoughts, which we do, it creates an ego, it creates our character. But that can be a choice. Why
Yeah.
do you think there are self-made millionaires and then there's someone on the street doing cocaine?
Yeah.
It's not a biological difference. Okay, there are slight changes, but all of them differences is the story that we tell ourselves. So I'm not good academically. I can't do uni. That's a story I'm telling myself. If I choose to believe it, guess what? I won't be good academically.
That's right. I
It's the
believe.
story that we tell ourselves. And I tell you, I won't talk too much because I know we're probably pushed for time, but Darren Brown highlights this kind of narrative we tell ourselves very well.
Yeah.
And we all know this story that we tell ourselves in life. And if we just observe and change that, we can shape our life completely different, you know. So yeah, it's I don't even know what your point was. I started waffling, but my point is, I suppose, is that we have a choice,
Yeah.
and we you know, we can live in that peaceful state if we so choose to. I'm not saying it's easy, but the option is just above us. You just got to observe and have some self control.
Yeah.
You know.
I think that's literally what this year is about. Is a massive part of this year is the old crumbling. And that's happening on the macro level from the individual all the way up to establishment. The old is going and the new is coming in, just like a flower that's about to blossom. We're just in that stage about to blossom as a species. And it's painful because when the old goes, that can take some of your creature comforts, what you've known for the last 30, 40 years. You know, it can take that away.
Yeah.
And it's scary and it can be scary. But together, that's why videos like this are so important because there is a choice. There is a choice. You can watch videos and content like this and get to know yourselves and get to know the truth. Or you can continue to watch stuff that's going to scare you and put you in that fear vibration. And I tell people all the time, don't be oblivious to what's going on, but don't let it control. Oh, my bloody camera's dying. Yeah. Don't be oblivious to what's going on, but don't let it
Yeah.
control your every life. But on that note, I want to thank you for being on the show, James. It's
You
been
are very welcome, and it was very nice to have a catch up, and we'll do it again soon.
yeah, I'm going to be a lot
Yeah,
more prepared
definitely.
next time. But
Yeah.
I'll make sure I've
All
got
right. Well, yeah.
but yeah, no, it's been great to have you on the show. To everyone, if you haven't already liked and subscribed to the channel, it is absolutely free and it helps the message get out there of love and unity. So till next time, please take care. Much
Yeah.
love. Goodbye for now, and I will see you soon. Take care.
There's not much to do when all I can is thinking about you. Not doing well, don't know where you are, 'cause you're not here. It's been way too long.